Joining us on this segment is Lieutenant Virgil Literrell with the Tulsa Police Department. Lieutenant, good to have you, my friend.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Glad you could take the time. The issue here is dealing with the use of force, which you guys and gals have to deal with on a daily basis. I think I told you before you came out here, I wouldn't have your job. I'd say, okay, fine, and leave. But there's quite a bit of training that goes into that, isn't there?
There sure is. It takes a lot of work. You know, of course, they have to learn the law, what the case law is, what the state statutes are in reference to it, and that's where it kind of starts. But that, you know, you can know what the law says, what the case law is, but it really takes some training and experience to get to where they can make good use of force decisions. So, so to get that training experience when they go through the police academy, they're going to train by learning just the basic mechanics of how to use different force tools and options, like a taser, for example, or their pepper spray. Learn how to handcuff, so they need to know the basic mechanics of how to use their tools and defend themselves. But then they got to learn how to make appropriate decisions as to when to use those, and we do that by. The best way we do that is by showing them. We show videos of real-world examples and talk about what the officers did, whether it was an appropriate decision or not. And we put them through scenario-based training where we put those simulated situations, and they have to make those decisions with all the various force options they have available to them.
And then that's reviewed.
It is. We video most all scenario-based training that we do, and then we review the video with the recruit so they can see what they did. When we're critiquing them and giving their feedback, it really helps that they can see what they did.
Emily Spivey, our director, producer of this particular show, shot some video for us, and I'm going to direct your attention to the monitor, and if you can kind of take a look at what we're going to be seeing, okay, and tell us, bring us along.
Right here, we're in the classroom, and that's one of my training instructors, Officer Ashley Kite. And she is in there just doing a lecture, and I believe the lecture there is on the use of pepper spray. And then after that, we move down into the gym, and we're going over with them the mechanics of how to apply it, some things to keep in mind, and then soon after this, we're going to move out and actually go through some scenario-based training where they're going to apply inert pepper spray on a role player. But so we're talking about the different aspects they're going to need to consider when they go out there. We provide them a demonstration of what it would, how it would look to appropriately apply it, and then have them start doing it some scenarios themselves.
How many hours of training do they go through?
So for the entire academy, it's 1,150 hours. It's about 28 to 29 weeks. And then training they get that is directly related to use of force in the academy is 365 hours. So it's about 9 weeks of their academy, of their 28 weeks, is directly related to use of force.
I'm not going to draw you into any current situation or current event in the news. What I'm reaching for here is outside of that box. I'm going to make an assumption, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Would it be safe to say that the department is able to draw on different situations from around the country, be they right or be they wrong, and say, here's what happened and here's why?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like I said earlier, we'll take videos from examples from all over the country and use those examples both to show how to apply appropriate force, and I mean, we have a particular block of training on excessive force where we show videos of officers that used excessive force, both borderline and some of outrageous, and talk about why that was inappropriate. And then they actually go through a scenario where they witness the role player officer using inappropriate force or moving that direction, and they have to actually intervene to stop that from happening.
So it becomes second nature. Not only, there's an element of self-preservation, but there's also, first and foremost, the element of stay within the confines of the borders of the law.
Yeah, definitely, and that's not, sometimes that can be an obvious decision and easy to make, and sometimes it's not that obvious and not that easy. But that's what they have to do. On the video right there, we're showing, they're giving a demonstration of how to appropriately apply that pepper spray. These are the instructors doing that demonstration. That's Officer Kite and Officer Bennett. And now this is where the recruits are actually doing it themselves. Pepper spray is an intermediate force option. It's fairly low as police force option tools go. And most of these are crafted where it's like usually a trespasser or that kind of thing, and they're trying to get him to leave and he won't. So he, like the role player there, stood up, moved towards the officer, gave a pre-assault cue by raising his arm up, and he had already been, at that point, not following commands to, I'm not sure exactly what that scenario, but usually to provide name, to move off the property or that kind of thing.
And we need to point out again that the spray that was used there is not the big one. It's not the...
It's not the real deal,
yeah.
Correct. They do have experience with the real deal before they leave the academy, because they go through another scenario where they encounter a suspect who actually sprays them with the real, and they actually get sprayed with the real pepper spray directly in their face. And then they have to manage that assault that role player attacker continues to progress with, and appropriately defend themselves while they have a face full of pepper spray. It's one of the exercises they have to successfully complete to graduate the academy.
You married?
I am.
Family?
Yes, sir.
Got to be tough on the wife and the children when cops are vilified and ridiculed, when people aren't really in possession of all the facts, isn't it?
Sure. You know, my wife and daughter, they deal with it pretty well. I've been a police officer for 28 years, so they've been around it for a long time. And my brother is a police captain here in town in Claremore, and my nephew's a police officer with Tulsa Police. Actually, he was on the video a moment ago.
I feel like I'm talking to Tom Selleck, you know?
So, my family has a somewhat of a history in law enforcement, so they're familiar with it, and they know the ins and outs of it, and they know what the real story is.
Yeah. God, it's still a tough life, man. The youngsters, and I say that with respect, the youngsters coming out of the academy that are going to hit the streets for the first time always work with a seasoned officer, do they not? They do.
So when they leave the academy after that 28 to 30 weeks, depending on holiday interference and that kind of thing, they go into a 16-week FTO training program where they cycle through 3 different FTOs in 3 phases in 3 different sides of town. We have 3 divisions in Tulsa, patrol divisions. So, yeah, by the time they are out on their own, I'm not very good at math, but that's a long time.
You bet.
You know, before they can get out there and be on their own and making their decisions by themselves.
And even, as I understand it, even if someone's promoted to sergeant, or in your case, lieutenant, there is more training that goes hand in hand with that.
There is, like just to be a field training officer, to train the officers during that 16 weeks, those folks have to go through a selection process and a training program to do that. Of course, when you get promoted to supervisor, there's a mentoring program that's, I hope I don't get this right, I believe it's 4 weeks, where they have to ride with another supervisor, and then they have to go through a 2-week supervisor school too.
Yeah, so they really, I mean, education's just crammed in.
It is. Yeah, we, you know, at Tulsa we got to have a bachelor's degree just to get hired on to start with, and then, you know, we have a lengthy set of training programs to make sure the officers and supervisors are prepared.
Well, you got it right. When you look at this interview later and you're going to say, why did I say that? Trust me, you'll see what I'm talking about. Hey, I want to thank you for coming in and shedding some light on the training program, because quite frankly, I don't think the folks at home realize when they hear all the yeah on the news, they don't always know what's going on behind the scenes and what that officer, male or female, might have gone through to get where he or she is. Thanks for shedding some light on it.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you, man. Tell the family I said hey.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's all the time we have for this edition of Perspectives. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.